Stay tuned for next week's exciting episode of Higurashi Ball Z. That happened. Very interesting episode. Episode 14 of Higurashi When They Cry Sotsu. That was not really quite what I was expecting. I mean, technically, it's not out of the realms of normality. I mean, we have technically characters going back in time over and over again. I guess it falls in the realm. They have crazy Shrine Maiden superpower fight happening with Dragon Ball Z type auras happening. It just, I don't know. I really wasn't feeling it when I was watching it, but it's not beyond the realm of possibility. It was just very out of the norm. Of course, I was technically, before all that stuff started happening, I was wondering, why does Sadako have like superhuman strength and everything? But it got weird. It got really weird, and I still at this point don't know how I feel about it, honestly. It's a lot of things were very weird about this episode, let's be honest. But anyway, getting into the episode itself, obviously opening up with us replaying that same scene for the, 14th time now, with Sadako freaking out about the box, and then Rika slowly walking over to open it up, and then, finally we get to see what actually happens, and that's no pause whatsoever. She just immediately shoots Rika. And that, again, it's always kind of troubling to think about the aftermath, like what people see after it happens. Like, just thinking about the fact that all these friends are standing around a classroom for a birthday, and then suddenly out of nowhere, the birthday person decides to kill somebody else and kill themselves. It's so messed up. It's so messed up when you actually pause and think about, like, what they're leaving behind, the trauma that scene basically imposes. But I mean, it's similar to all the other ones. Technically, they're playing in the water, and they go to back to their little picnic setup, and there's 2 dead bodies. Just not a very settling situation. But yeah, so of course, this basically opens up this whole process of Rika knows that Sadako is doing this, and every time Rika resets into a new world, Sadako immediately attacks her and kills her. And the entire time they're arguing about what's happened. Sadako's blaming Rika for wanting to leave to go to this Saint Lucia place and go to this life of, refined women and stuff like that. And she wanted her to stay there. And at the same time, finally, eventually, when they get to this point where she's on the altar, well, thankfully she didn't do that. They didn't play the stupid ritual scene again. They just immediately jump into the fight. But yeah, they have the little ritual fight, and that's when Rika starts really firing back. Like, so you're doing all this because you didn't want to study? Again, this is like that self-awareness that I argued about early in this season. Like, really, this is our antagonist, is somebody that's upset because they don't want to study? Like, that's your driving force to killing people over and over again, is because you don't want to study? Give me a break. But at any rate, it's just an element of jealousy, really. A lot of it's a jealousy element, and that's really what she's kind of conveying. But at the same time, like I said, Rika firing back with the idea of, like, you could just study. You never reached out to me. I was letting you do what you want to do with the girls. And she's like, well, you didn't accept any of my moments where I was trying to offer help. It's just a dumb spiraling thing. And it's eventually got to the point where you realize, yeah, the beginning of this was stupid. The beginning of all this was really stupid, let's be honest. But it was weird, too, because the entire time they're fighting, obviously, like I said, I'm assuming Sadako is killing Rika and then killing herself right afterwards, because otherwise she wouldn't be able to follow her. And they're jumping from place to place to place. And here's the point where I am assuming that just because so much of this is happening and it's so chaotic, that they're just jumping all over the place. There's no like, set point that they should be jumping to. They technically established at some point with Rika and her power slowly failing, or at least Hanyu's power slowly failing, that over time, the point in which she was able to go back before 1983 got shorter and shorter and shorter, closer to that point of everything falling apart. But I've never seen them reset to after that, which that's the weird thing. They reset to not just when they were at the St. Louis place, but also the point in which they were, Rika tells her that she wants her to go with her to the school. And it doesn't make any sense. Like I said, the only thing I can think of is that it's because it's so chaotic, they're not really shooting for a specific time. And so it's just going all over the place. But like I said, it's never really had it reset to past that point. So all I can assume is, like I said, either because of the chaos or because Iwa's just like, whatever, let's just throw them everywhere. Let's just have them argue at different times and different ages. Just have fun. I'm laughing at it, whatever. But they even had the classic rooftop of the school fight, which I thought was kind of a funny little callback. And not only that, probably the craziest killing blow that we've ever had in this entire series. The bumper off the side of the roof, and then as she's falling down, immediately reach up, swing the bat down, and hit her up against the side of the building. Like, do you realize how fast you had to be to pull that off? Push, swing, bam. It's like instantaneous, but it looked crazy, I guess. Again, like I said, probably the craziest finish off we've ever seen of this entire series, but gotta one themselves up all the time. But like I said, a lot of superhuman aspects happening here, picking up gigantic drums and chucking them, and literally, I'm assuming, basically punching somebody to death, which is, for a small child, is pretty crazy. The hot frying pan was pretty brutal too, but yeah, pretty much after all this, we eventually get to a point where, yeah, when she gets knocked off the roof of the school, she immediately says, well, I know how to get rid of you. And that, of course, is the Onigari no Ryu, which is the small fragment of the sword, which, yeah, immediately when they reset, Rika swipes at her with it, cuts her neck, and then that's when we have the super crazy power-up moment. Once they all start going crazy with the sword and the fragment, and they're just Super Saiyan Shrine Maiden modes, flying all over the place, slamming into each other, until eventually they collide, and the two parts basically fuse together and create one full sword, and then eventually, yeah, Rika gets the upper hand, takes the sword, and that's when we're having the question mark point of like, well, are you going to do it? Sadako's like, yeah, do it. Just get it over with. Go on with your life without me in it. And Rika's like, sounds good. It sounds good, but obviously pausing for a moment. Technically, on the other side, we also did have Hanyu continuously trying to break free from Yua's shackles. And Yua's pretty much like, you're just a fragment of me, a failed fragment of me. There's no way, there's nothing that you have that I don't have. And you're lesser than me. So Hanyu's idea, obviously, like she's always kind of claimed ever since that, the reset where Hanyu and Rika got through was a miracle. And Yua basically tells if you're going to use this miracle, do it. Get it over with or just disappear. And of course, he finally breaks free from her shackles, but yeah, not quite sure what that miracle is going to be, but that's what Hanyu's claiming. She's going to get a miracle that's going to overcome Yua, and probably the situation that Sadako and Rika are facing. So yeah, that leaves us with one more episode, and like I said, I don't know how I feel about this particular episode. Like, on one hand, it's like, it falls within the bounds of the world itself, but on the other hand, it felt very, like, just not the style of this story has ever been. We've never had crazy Super Saiyan power-up moments between characters just battling it out. So I do pause, but at the same time, it doesn't really matter in the end. I at this point, honestly, especially with this entire episode playing out, I'm so tired of Sadako. And like I said before, it technically is pointing out the absurdity of all this stuff happening. It was created from the single point where Sadako got jealous and would not let Rika help her study, and she hates studying, and thus we've had literally over 15 episodes of that turning into a thing. Yes, chop it up as it being the witch's powers, it being Yua basically manipulating Sadako, but it was all began from this point of her not wanting to study, honestly. But like I said, it is technically a snowball effect that it kind of led to this point. The anxieties of going somewhere new, trying something new, the anxieties of leaving her comfortable homeland, the idea of anybody else being with Rika, that love jealousy that she has, all of that spiraling into, okay, well, I'll just reset and keep trying to see if I can convince her. And that reset goes into the idea of her torturing Rika until she eventually does not want to go, and then eventually she becomes the witch. But it frustrates me because the moment that she gets the upper hand over Sadako's like, well, end it, that's fine, go on and be happy at St. Lucia. And I'm like, she's tricking her. Like, we know as the viewer that Sadako has basically the witch has killed her sane side, like the side of her that's normal. And so there's nothing left, presumably, in there that is the original Sadako. So whatever she's going to say right now is obviously going to be tricking Rika. So she needs to just finish it. Which technically, again, leads me to my desired theory, which was the idea that eventually Rika will slay Sadako as the witch and remove her from this reset, then reset it herself, and then have Sadako basically restored to before all this stuff happened. And like I said, I think that's the best way they can go about this. I don't like the idea of... Technically, I think it's a better... It would be more twisted and in the realms of what Higurashi has done in the past if they have it be a thing where Rika instead just kills Sadako without the sword, so that Sadako, the witch self, has to live without Rika forever, which would totally make her go crazy. But unfortunately, the way that I see it going is more going to be probably Hanyu somehow figuring out how to get the upper hand against Yua, and then her stopping Rika from killing Sadako, and then them having this big embrace moment where Sadako is overcome by the original self of Sadako, and everybody's happy and smiling and giggling. Which, again, like I said, I think at this point was so much built against Sadako. Again, chop it up as the witch side. I don't like her. I feel like anything less than her being either reset or pushed entirely out is going to frustrate me. But I'll give them credit for whatever they decide to do. I mean, I'm sure that they'll probably pull something interesting off in the end, but it's a lot of build up to something that I hope that I have a nice payoff from. Again, we could probably chop it up as things like being just, chaotic, and again, Yua just throwing them in different fragments. But if they were fighting each other over the sword and they were changing locations and times, don't you think that that means that one of them killed the other with the sword? Unless they were just killing each other as they were chasing after the fragment, which doesn't make any sense, but I don't know. It just seemed weird. They were like just tumbling around trying to get this sword, and I know that with the stairs, they fell all the way down the stairs. But yeah, that would mean like if they were dashing for the sword and suddenly it jumps to a new scene, that would imply that Sadako got the upper hand and killed Rika. But then why would she not kill her with the sword? It just. I'm thinking about it too much. I need to stop. Like I said, I know that the staircase, they basically tumbled down the stairs, and obviously that probably meant that they both died from that, and somehow, thankfully for Sadako's sake, Rika died first, but then again, why is a sword appearing whole in every single fragment? Wouldn't they have to go back there and get the sword again? And it recombine? I'm thinking too much about it. I need to stop. So yeah, one more episode. I really do hope I don't know. Next week's going to be very interesting. I'm kind of excited to see if it manages to pull off something that I'm happy with, or if it's going to do something that I'm going to be frustrated with in the end. I really do hope at any rate, I hope it's not anticlimactic. I really do hope it has something really cool in the end. I don't know. I should probably set my expectations really low. That way I'm not mad. But after going through all this and me not necessarily liking Sadako as a villain, I really do hope there's something really solid at the end of here, and I just don't know that's going to be it. But we'll see. Hope you guys join me for that next week. And I thank you guys for watching this video. If you did like this video, leave a like down below, comment, let me know what you thought of the episode. Subscribe if you haven't already. Share this video if you can. Support us on Patreon if you can. We definitely appreciate everybody that does. And y'all take care.